So apparently what was a pretty poorly kept secret has now been confirmed. I hadn't actually heard of it, but Graham Rowntree has been confirmed as the Munster head coach to start next season to replace Johann van Graan, who's off to Bath. It's an interesting appointment. Now, obviously, he's been with Munster for a few years now, working with the forwards, so it's an internal appointment. Although the assistants like Larkham and I think it's Ferreira, the defence coach, they'll be leaving, so he is going to have to appoint a new backroom, which is going to be one of the first items on his agenda. It's an interesting appointment because, Graham Rowntree has been coach of loads of teams, right? He's been with the British and Irish Lions, he's been with England, he's been with Harlequins, he's been with Leicester, he's been with Georgia, but he's never, as far as I'm aware, done head coaching. So this is not one where we can look at a previous record of wins and losses and how did things go kind of season on season to rate his chances of stepping up with the Munster job. It is a pretty big job to step up into as your first kind of head coaching role. But that being said, as I said, he's got a wealth of experience that would be more than many head coaches around the world. So yeah, and as far as I'm aware, the fans are pretty keen to see how he goes as head coach as well. He's got some good backing from Munster fans. At least that's my reading of the situation. People back him in terms of his understanding of the culture and the ethos and whatnot of the club, and also just being an internal appointment, you don't need to have that kind of same. Well, I guess it's an opportunity when you appoint a new coach to have that kind of revolutionary change, or it can be incremental change. So with Rowntree, maybe it's going to be like what we've seen in other situations like Farrell taking over from Schmidt, where it's kind of tinkering rather than wholesale changes, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. He is on a 2-year deal, which I think makes sense because generally I say when you appoint a new coach, it's probably the 3rd year, maybe the 2nd year that you judge them by, because the first year you're essentially dealing with all the transition stuff. You're trying to look for exits for players that you aren't really that keen on in your squad. You're looking to bring guys in and embed your new culture or your new tactics and whatnot. So by the 2nd year, you should be seeing some progress, and by the 3rd year, you should really be kind of up to full speed. Michael Cheika, when he came down to the Waratahs, won the whole competition for the first time ever with that team in his 2nd year. So it can be done. It's just not the norm, I would say. But because he is an internal appointment, that whole kind of transition thing shouldn't be as hectic. I would imagine it's going to be, hopefully, a wee bit smoother for them. But I do think who his backroom staff end up being is going to be a major factor in how well his coaching career goes at Munster. Because honestly, I don't think, with Larkham especially, Munster fans have got value for money from that coaching ticket. I've kind of made no bones about it. I'm not usually too critical of coaches, but Larkham, for mine, has never been a personal favourite in terms of his ability to unlock the best in a backline. When he was the head coach of the Brumbies, I've said this loads of times, his team was pretty one-dimensional. They were a maul team. When they came up against the Kiwi teams, they didn't have a great record. So, I know as a player he was phenomenally gifted, but I don't think those skills transferred that well into his ability to get the best from his players, personally. Just looking at some stats for this year's URC, Munster are 2nd for tries scored, which is phenomenal, but run meters they're 11th, clean breaks they're 11th, defenders beaten they're 9th, and offloads they're 10th. Now, that's not necessarily the end of the world. Like, tries are what matters. It doesn't really matter how you get them, right? But generally, the top teams will be certainly better than, 11th for some of those key numbers. Last season, tries were 4th, which is also, still pretty bloody high among 14 teams, but run meters 6th, clean breaks 11th, defenders beaten 10th, offloads 7th. So, like I said, you don't need to be offloaded it all the time like crazy. We've got a Fijian team down here in Super Rugby now, and they're one-dimensional in their own right, and that they try to run everything. They don't kick it bugger all. They offload everything, so they drop the ball a lot, and teams have been kind of figuring them out. I do think you need to have a multifaceted game, which I do think needs to get more out of guys like, Shane Daly, you got Craig Casey. Gavin Coombs is one guy who I think probably has been filling up to his potential, but, O'Donoghue's been doing really well as well. But yeah, there's a lot of young guys in that Munster squad who I don't think have hit their ceilings yet, and they just need to be given, I don't know, maybe a bit more freedom to play. You guys let me know if I'm kind of barking up the wrong tree, but yeah, it just seems to me like the team is, from what the names on the paper have always been better than what we see in some of the results. I mean, that's not saying the Munster have had bad results. It's just they've not been able to kind of take that next step up from like a semi-final team to winning trophies, at least in the couple of years I've been watching them. So, I mean, defensive numbers are all pretty good. It's just, yeah, getting a bit more from some other elements of the team. But yeah, you guys let me know what you reckon. Are you pretty happy with the appointment of Graham Rowntree? As I said, I do think who comes in as potentially his attacking coach is going to be a pretty key appointment, but we will see what happens. I haven't read who the favourites are for that role yet, but if he's already in conversations, I would imagine it's not going to be too far away. You guys let me know your thoughts, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.